Hi guys, I'm posting this video on Sunday for CIS 114. This is our first program where we actually input data, right? Um, I've actually commented this one out real well. This is probably my expectations. We haven't talked about a lot about commenting, other than I said when you all actually get programs assigned to you, that I will accept them. I will expect them to be commented out. So if you look at this one real close, I've got definitely my what I would expect for a header, something that explains what the program does. And in this one case, this program calculates the average of 3 test scores and your name. Uh, Date's not that important, but at least this information, a brief description and your name. And then as you go through the program, little things that need to be told to the reader or future you or somebody picking up your program, little comments that explain what each thing does or what it is. So you can see this isn't over commented. Last year, this was last fall. I had one student. Um, I think they lost points on the first program because they didn't comment. It was like really brief. I mean, hardly anything. They'd lost some points, and then for the rest of the semester, and I don't think it was to be a smart aleck, but they didn't want to lose any more points. They would leave me books. There would be like 6, 8 lines here, and each comment would be 3 and 4 lines. There's like 3 times the amount of comments as there was code. That's kind of ridiculous. But this is about what I would expect on a program that's turned into me. That way I can figure out what everything is, because every program's going to be a little bit different. People are going to do things in different ways, and I have to figure it out to actually grade it. All right, for this one, IOStream, CMath, I'll explain that as we get down to it, and using namespace standard. IOStream is just what we've talked about before. It's input output stream. So this is our first use of input. All right, I went down here and I declared 3 double variables, test 1, test 2, test 3. And I made them all doubles. And I made the average. The whole purpose of this program is to take in three test scores and see out the average. So I also have a double as average. All right, we get down inside this block here. This is the first time we experienced something new. A lot of you did a little programming and you are familiar with input, output. So here's what's going to happen. Get 3 test scores. I'm going to see out, enter the first test score. Because there's no indel here, all right, it's just going to, a cursor is going to sit at the end of the line, and it's going to wait until you enter a test score. That's what the CIN's for. Arrows go in the opposite direction of C out. All right. And it's going to sit there and it's going to wait because I've got one variable here. It's going to wait for 1 test score. If I would have something that looks like this, okay, the variable, the cursor would sit there and it would wait for you to enter 2 scores with a space in between. But more about that later. Now we're just worried about the initial input. All right. Once you enter it and hit enter, it'll see out enter second test score. You'll enter the second test score, which you're going to enter. By the way, this is in one case, you're going to be entering more likely an integer. Most test scores, you rarely get scores on test 97.5 and things like that. You'll enter 97, 89, 95, right? But they're taking those in as doubles. I made them doubles for this program. You could just as easily made them floats, right? You'll enter all 3 test scores. Then the program is going to do the math on it. test 1 plus test 2 plus test 3. Like I said, you're entering probably going to enter integers, right? It's going to divide by 3.0 and put that value to average, which is a double. Then the last thing that's going to happen is after it does the math on this, assigns it to average, it's going to see out the average score is with a space, and then it's going to see out the average. So this is the first interactive program we've had. Everything else has been hard-coded into the program. This one's actually going to do something. So I run the Windows debugger. Okay, enter first test score. This one's going to be at 89. See where the cursor is? It's just sitting there flashing at me, and it's waiting for me to hit enter. All right, same thing. Cursor's just setting at the end of that first line. We didn't see out an indel. It's waiting. Let's see, did better on the second test, got a 95. Got kind of cocky, didn't study much. On the next test, got a 74. Cursor sets there blinking, hit enter, and it sees out the average of 86. All right. This is a float. The reason this turned out to be 86 is because if you look up here, I've got 2 odd and 1 even. So once you do the math on that, it's going to give you just an 86.0. And this one, the way the math turned out, it turned out to be 80. It didn't give you an 86.0. The big thing to notice, though, is it did do the math on it. All right. Let me go back and I'm going to run this again with different numbers. Let's make this 99, 88 or 66, and let's make this one 77. Hit enter, and you can see this is a double. All right, the rounding issue. We have a thing coming up called set precision where we can make it force it to print out decimals or print out numbers after the decimal. But in this case, it did the math and came out as an 80.667. All right, you can guess up front that this is going to be what we work with on Monday. I'll talk about this a little bit more before I hand out an assignment. Need a little practice with this before we move on. We'll see you guys on Monday at 1 and 2 o'clock.